After downloading and installing the sample databases as well as the sample cube, let's go ahead and preview some of the information that we've created. The first thing we're going to do is launch the SQL Server Management Studio. We'll go to Start, type SQL Server Management, and we'll click on the 2014 Management Studio. We'll be prompted here for a connection to a server and to a server name. The server type we need to place is database engine, and the period means the local instance. We're also connecting through Windows authentication. We'll click the Connect button, and we'll get a list of folders which have objects in the SQL Server engine. We'll drill into databases, and we'll see the AdventureWorks DW 2014 database. We'll drill into that database and then drill into the tables. Here we see tables that start with DIM as well as tables that start with fact. These are the dimension and fact tables in the AdventureWorks databases. We're going to go ahead and right-click on DIM Date and do Select Top 1000 Rows to get an idea of the data that's being displayed. I'm going to close the Properties window, and you can see towards the bottom a table view of the dimension date. I'm also going to right-click on Fact Internet Sales and select the top 100 rows from there. Here we can see the surrogate keys for product, order date, due date and ship date, as well as customer key, promotion, currency, and sales territory. If we scroll to the right, eventually we'll see order quantity and some amounts, which are the measures in our fact table. Now, let's look at SQL Server Data Tools. I'm going to minimize SQL Server Management Studio for now and launch Visual Studio 2013. We'll hit the Start button, type SQL Server Data, and we'll see the data tools for Visual Studio 2013. The first thing we need to do is open the project for AdventureWorks database. I'm going to go to the File menu choice, Open, and go to Project and Solution. I downloaded the AdventureWorks to my C drive in the AdventureWorks folder. We have the Enterprise Edition, so I'm going to go into that folder and I will see the solution, AWDW 2014 Multidimensional-EE. When I open this project, it's going to open the data source views, cubes, dimensions, and data models, including mining models for the AdventureWorks source solution. I'm going to shorten the output window and actually close it and go look at these different folders. The first one that we see is the data source folder. This will be where the connection to the relational database or databases exists. Here we're connected to the AdventureWorks DW 2014 database. And if we open that window, the Data Source Designer, we'll see an Edit button below String, Connection String. If we click that Edit button, we'll see the server name is the local instance and the database name is AdventureWorks DW 2014. We can even test the connection to make sure we can connect through our Windows authentication. I'm going to click OK and OK and then go to the tab Impersonation Information. Here we're using the service account to connect from the cube to the data source. This is a real important option, and caution should be used when impersonating information through a security account. The best method or best practice is to have an Active Directory service account for your SQL Server database engine as well as one for your analysis services engine. If the analysis services account can connect and read the database, you will be doing good. Click the OK button, and now we're going to go look at the data source viewer. I'm going to close the data source folder and double click the AdventureWorks DW DSV. This is where all the tables, dimension, facts, as well as views are placed in the All Tables area. If you look to the upper left, there's a datagram organizer. The first one is All Tables, which will always be there. Once you start building a cube larger and larger, you can actually subset some of these tables to be viewed. If you notice, the next option is Internet Sales. If we click on that and pin down our Properties and Solution Explorer, we can right-click on the work area, go to Zoom and to Fit. Here we get a little better view of the fact table, which is in the middle, and the dimension tables that form, in this case, a snowflake schema. You can even do this for reseller sales, sales summary, and even one for sales quota. I'm going to pin back the Solution Explorer as well as the properties to get back to my normal view. We'll zip up the data source views and go to the next folder. The next folder is the cube, and this is where most of the work is done. We'll double-click AdventureWorks Cube. We'll shorten the window on our right, and we'll see the very first tab, Cube Structure, is actually a data source view that's built from the measure groups as well as the measure facts. So what we see in the upper left is where our measures and measure groups get created, and below that is where the dimension tables get added. The second tab is our dimension usage. You might remember this from when we did the data modeling. Our internet sales is related to our date through a certain column. And if we click on the ellipse to the right of that relationship, we will see we have a regular relationship to the date dimension through the date key and the order date key. We'll cancel out of this and go to the next tab. That's the calculate. This is where special calculations are entered, like gross profit. There's a form view as well as a script view where you can freeform text type MDX. Other tabs include key performance indicators, actions such as drill through, partitioning, which helps performance, aggregations, which is where we build indexes, perspectives, which are like table views, and even translations, where you can translate into a different language. The last tab we're going to look at is the browser. This enables us to start browsing the cube if it has been deployed without any errors. We're going to go ahead and drill into the measures under the measure group and to sales summary. Here we're going to drag sales amount to our work area, and we will see the total sales amount for the entire cube. I'm going to zip up sales summary as well as measures, and I'm going to drill into the date. Here I'm going to go to the calendar folder and drag the date hierarchy for calendar out to my viewing area. Now we have year, semester, quarter, month, and day, so we have individual sales on each individual day. We can expand that a little to see what that day is. I'm going to drag and drop date back off of the viewing area, and now we get things summed up by month. If I drag the month back, I will get things summed up by quarter. And if I'm not looking for semester, which is half years, I can drag that off as well. And now I see by quarter the sales amount in our AdventureWorks cube. In the top area, we can filter what's being viewed in the workspace. Here, I can scroll down in the dimensions, go to product, pick the category product hierarchy, use an equal comparison, and go to filter expressions and see a list of the members of categories in my product dimension. Here, if I click on bike and click OK, you'll see those sales amounts change. Now we have just the bike sales within this browser. One other way we can view data from our deployed cube is to look at it in Excel. You could create the data connection in Excel if you would like, but here, if you're in the development environment, you can actually analyze this data in Excel. If you look at the center toolbar, you will see an X, kind of like the Excel icon, where you can analyze in Excel. I'm going to press that button. Once we click Analyze in Excel, we are prompted to select either the cube, which is AdventureWorks, or a perspective. I'm going to pick Sales Summary and then click OK. Excel 2013, since it is my default version, is going to come up with that data connection. It doesn't trust the connection, so you have to say Enable in order to view it. Once we're in Excel, we're being defaulted with a pivot table and the pivot table fields. If you look to the right, you will see different types of fields displayed. And in the top part, you'll see a summation sign next to each group. Summation signs mean measures. So if we start zipping up the sums, eventually we'll get to other object types. In this case, we have a KPI and name sets, which are objects created through analysis services. The sets are MDX statements that you group data by. For instance, in our set list, we have a top 50 customers and the large resellers. Once you start getting requirements from your business users, they will start wanting subsets of data, and name sets is a great place to do this. After that, we start seeing little table icons next to the date and delivery date and other dimensions. This indicates a dimension table. And even within dimension tables, you can see subfolders within them. This will help organize the attributes in dimensions. I'm going to drag the product category to my rows, and I'm going to see a list of product categories in my pivot table. In order to get a value, I've got to go to some measure. Under Sales Summary, I'm going to select Sales Amount and Gross Profit. And now, by category of the product dimension, I see a total sales and gross profit. If I drill into one of the categories, because this is a hierarchy, I'll see the subcategories under that category. Now I can see the bike rack sales amount and its gross profit. And if we look carefully, it looks like helmets has the greatest gross profit. If we add a calculation like gross profit margin, then we can even tell what the higher percentage gross profit is and which subcategory that is. Not only can we put stuff on rows, but we can also put them on columns. I'm going to remove gross profit by dragging and dropping it out of the value section, as well as gross profit margin, and I'm going to go to my date dimension. As I drill into the date, I'll see the calendar folder. And here, next to the arrow, I have the calendar date hierarchy, which I'll drag to columns. Now, I can see it, the accessories and the subcategories of accessories by date. I'm going to go ahead and zip up accessories, and I'm also going to go to the column labels drop down and only select 2012 and 2013. If you notice, some of this results is now what our business originally requested from us in the questions section. We have one other area that we can filter things by, and that's in the report filter. I'm going to zip up some of these dimensions to get down to sales channel. I'm going to drag the sales channel in the filters, and now in the top part of the pivot table, I'm able to look at either the individual internet sales channel or the reseller. Another nice feature of Excel is what's called slicers, which kind of goes to our slicer and dicer area. Here, under the Insert tab, we can click Slicer and pick some of the date dimensions. Here, I'm going to select the category and click OK. Now I have a slicer to filter by. And if you notice, as I click each one of these, I get just the results in my pivot table. This concludes looking at browsing the cube through Excel. One last place we can browse the cube from is from Management Studio. I'm going to bring back up SQL Server Management Studio, scroll to the top, and zip up my server connection. Next, I'm going to go to Connect Analysis Services and connect to my Analysis Services instance. If I drill into the databases, I see my VentureWorks database. If I drill into that database, eventually I'll see cubes. I can right-click VentureWorks and browse. Now I have the same display that we saw in Visual Studio 2013, and I can go to my measures, sales summary, and drag sales amount to my work area, as well as go to date, calendar, and drag that hierarchy. I get the same look and feel as Visual Studio, and I even have the ability to filter by those categories. So here we saw 3 different areas in order to browse and preview our deployed multidimensional cube.